insane. Filmed this a couple weeks ago, did not go nearly hard enough on Chuck Schumer. In case you missed it, yesterday the Democrats had a rare moment of leverage because the Republicans were trying to pass this spending bill that was basically just a blank check to Trump. It would legally legitimize basically everything they're doing right now, turning the federal budget into a slush fund for Trump and Elon to decide what to do with, eviscerating Congress's power of the purse and putting all the government spending in the purview of the executive branch. Huge overstep, overreach of power, and this would legitimize it in a way that would make it harder to fight against. Thing is, in order to pass this bill, they need 60 votes in the Senate, and there are only 53 Republicans. So this is the Democrats' chance to say, hey, if you want 7 of us to vote for your bill, you need to negotiate in us with good faith, or you're not getting any of our support. Here are our demands, all right? Elon's gotta go. Moving forward, no cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Something. Anything. Literally one of the things on that list. Use this opportunity to take a stand for the American people who are not on board with what's happening right now. Fight for issues people care about. Do anything. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Wait, what? Yeah, this is how we rebel against the Republicans. By giving them everything they want with no concessions? Schumer turned on his heel, said, no, I'm going to vote in favor of the resolution, and whipped 9 other Democrats to vote with him. He literally originally committed to voting no on it, and then he got a call, and he said, actually, I'm going to make sure that this bill passes. And I'll tell you what, right after he made that announcement, Dow Jones gets a boost. We deserve better, we need better, we are not mounting enough of a resistance. It did, however, lay the perfect groundwork for the story that I begin this video with, so there's that. Let me tell you guys a story. In the 1930s, Hitler's Germany began expanding its power. First, it remilitarized the Rhineland, then it annexed Austria. Britain and France wanted to avoid further conflict, so they decided to pursue a policy of appeasement. So in 1938, when Hitler demanded the Sudetenland as German territory, Neville Chamberlain agreed to give it to him, and he returned from his meeting with Hitler declaring peace for our time.
We regard the agreement signed last night as symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again.
This policy failed. Not even 6 months later, Hitler invaded the rest of Czechoslovakia and a few months later invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. Appeasement only emboldened him and allowed him to grow stronger. And yet, we haven't learned from our mistakes, because I'm watching the same thing happen today. The first bill of Trump's second presidency ordered the immediate detention and/or deportation of undocumented immigrants accused of a crime. Not convicted of a crime, just accused of one. Getting in ahead of the comment that I know is coming, being in the country without proper documentation is itself not a crime, it's a civil violation. Anyway, 46 Democrat representatives and 12 Democrat senators voted in favor of a law that removes due process and could lead to indefinite detention and/or deportation on nothing but an accusation of a crime. Ruben Gallego wouldn't even commit to supporting due process and presumption of innocence, which are constitutional rights. Frankly, there was a precedent set this time last year when Biden tried to close the border with his bipartisan bill that was just a massive capitulation to Republicans and lent credence to these completely manufactured claims they've been making about border security and migrant crime. And guess what? That didn't work either, because it still wasn't draconian enough, and it was drafted by a Democrat. Biden tried to appease the Republicans, and he created a bill that pleased no one. But back to the Trump Act. If we had a real opposition party, we would have people saying, why would we give them this at all? They're lying about migrant crime, they're lying about border security, they're lying about the economy, they're taking away people's constitutional rights. Why should we be making immigration policy with Trump, period? Why aren't we spending all of our energy and all of our time showing the American people that Trump's stance on immigration is wrong, immigrants are good for the country, and we need to be focusing on comprehensive immigration reform, not closing the border? Why have we uncritically accepted their framing of this issue? All these mainstream news outlets spent the run-up to the election sane-washing Trump, softening his language, and lending credence to these insane, unfounded claims he was making. Did any of it matter? No. Within a month of him taking office, he limited their access to the White House. He whined about them on Hannity, he whined about them everywhere, but oh my god, don't even get me started on the Hannity interview.
They don't care about North Carolina. The Democrats don't care about North Carolina. Nobody can believe the numbers. How about with youth? I won youth by 36 points.
nonstop. It doesn't matter what they say. He has already declared them the enemy. When have you ever seen Republicans collaborate with Democrats on a left-wing issue? Why on earth would we try to appease these people who will never work with us? It's completely one-sided. Shout out Michael Steele on Morning Joe a month or two ago. I think he was talking about like civility, but the sentiment is the same.
Civility is a two-way street. Let's just see what the civility is coming the other way, because I bet you it isn't. Everybody's looking at this from a one-way perspective. How we need to approach Donald Trump. How the hell is he approaching us?
Yeah.
Right? The man wants to lock up citizens. The man wants to turn the government against him. How are we to respond to that? Are we supposed to be civil?
When faced with a loss, or even a potential loss, the Democrat strategy, not all of them, but a lot of them, seems to be, instead of trying to advance their own message and counter their opposition, they just fall in line with their opposition's framing. The Republicans would never do this. Can you imagine Republicans losing an election and being like, oh, we have to lean left now? Never! Never! It's this bizarre impulse in the Democratic Party to try and like outdo the right at being the right. If someone wants someone Trumpy, they're gonna vote for Trump. If they want conservative policies, they're gonna vote for a Republican. But you're in luck, because liberal policies are actually more popular than conservative ones. So why aren't you bolstering them? I'm not asking you to become the party of Marx. I'm asking you to stop literally talking and legislating like Trump supporters. His administration is moving fast and breaking things. And every day that you continue to not vocally oppose this, he is removing every bit of power that you would have to do so. I don't know what you're waiting for, which makes me wonder if you're not waiting at all. And that's really scary. Oh my god, I can't stop thinking about that Hakeem Jeffries tweet. Presidents come and presidents go. Through it all, God is still on the throne. Like what moves you to sit down and tweet that? Hakeem Jeffries is the House Minority Leader for the Democrats. The Democrats are a political party, so he is a politician. If he's saying politics doesn't matter because God is still on the throne, then drop out and go to church, dude. Like, this isn't even bad opposition. This is straight up saying none of it matters. There are millions of vulnerable people to whom this matters a whole awful lot. The other day, he was whining to the press about how we have no leverage because Republicans control every branch of government. Hot take. I don't think that it is okay or acceptable for an elected representative to, on behalf of his whole party, throw his hands up and say there's nothing we can do. That's your job, dude. I hate to keep saying this, but Republicans don't do this. And I gotta hand it to AOC, who actually knows how to use this overwhelming Republican control as leverage.
We should be very clear with the American people that the House is governed by a Republican majority, the Senate is governed by a Republican majority, and the White House has a Republican president. And if they want to pass their agenda, Republicans need to conjure up the votes for them to pass their own bills.
This is reporting from Axios about a closed-door Democrat meeting that was just a gripe fest. People are concerned. They're saying we're not doing enough, but we're not in the majority. Is this what happens when you're not in the majority? You sit around and twiddle your thumbs and spin the propeller on your hat? I hate to keep saying this, but is this what Republicans did when they were in the minority? Be obstructionist. Have conviction. Do something. Do they not think, because they lost control of Congress, do they not think they have anything to do now except get together and complain that their constituents want more from them? They're complaining that their voters are too activated? They're too aroused, sorry. Chuck Schumer. Are you feeling aroused?
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
No leverage, says the party that gave up on increasing the minimum wage because they couldn't get it through the parliamentarian. You know what Republicans did when they couldn't get their tax cuts through the parliamentarian? They fired him. I understand that there is right-wing media capture. I understand that we are fighting an uphill battle. But why capitulate? Where is the passion? Where is the energy? Where is the footwork? More footwork. More footwork. You can't appease people who fundamentally oppose human rights and democracy. Every time liberals try and meet them in the middle shifts further right. And every time Democrats cower instead of fighting back, they are betraying the people they are supposed to represent. You're trying to be the last people on the trains. And not only does it not matter because you're going to be on the trains no matter what, you're not even gonna be the last in line because they don't care. The Democratic Party has a choice. It can either stand firm in its principles, fight for what is right, and reject the framing of people who want to dismantle democracy, or it can continue this self-defeating cycle of compromise and concession to an opposition that will never do the same. Because the fact is, when you let the right set the terms of the debate, when you play their game instead of fighting for your own vision, you don't just lose, you help them win. And every time that happens, the stakes get higher, the damage gets worse, and the fight to reclaim what was lost gets even harder. This is not a time for weak messaging, bipartisan theater, or pandering to a party that has made it clear they have no interest in compromise. It's a time for conviction, for standing up and saying, we will not concede our values, we will not validate lies, we will not let history repeat itself. Because if we don't fight now, we may not get another chance.